This is Come Follow Me for the Book of Mormon, based on 2 Nephi chapters 11 through 19 and 2 Nephi chapters 20 through 25. The book of Isaiah is going to be quoted quite heavily in these chapters in 2 Nephi. I recommend that if you don't have the the annotated edition of the book of Isaiah, that it might be something you want to consider in your library, because it really adds quite a bit of additional insights to the prophecies that you'll find within the Book of Mormon, and you'll find that it will greatly enhance your testimony that the Book of Mormon clarifies some of the passages within the King James Version of the Book of Mormon. This is a chart that I have in the back of the annotated edition of the book of Isaiah that shows the house of Israel, or the house of Ephraim, and then the house of Judah with their associated kings. The Isaiah will foretell of events during the reign of those kings, the southern kingdom of Judah and the kings of the northern kingdom of Israel. And the southern kingdom of Judah you'll see in the greenish colored text, and the northern kingdom of Israel will be in the red text. The prophets will testify and prophesy about some of these kings, like Pekahiah and Pekah and Hoshea, as well as the kings in the southern part of Judah. Isaiah will be reigning during those reigns of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah. The Lehite colony will flee Jerusalem, just as Isaiah prophesies what would happen to them, or the kingdom of Judah being taken captive by the Babylonians. In 2 Nephi chapter 11 verse 8, Nephi says the following, "And now I write some of the words of Isaiah, that whoso of my people shall see these words may lift up their hearts and rejoice for all men. Now these are the words, and you may liken them unto you and unto all men." So here I will take some certain passages in the book of 2 Nephi, and I will show how we can liken them into our day. In 2 Nephi chapter 12 verses 7 through 9, it's equivalent to Isaiah 2, 7 through 9. He says, "Their land also is full of silver and gold, neither is there any end of their treasures." That means their possessions and their wealth. "Their land is also full of horses, neither is any end of their chariots." That's their transportation. "Their land is also full of idols." They could be either people or things. "They worship the work of their own hands, that which their fingers have made." In other words, they're taking great pride in their technology. "And the mean man," that's the lower common man, "boweth not down. And the great man humbleth not, therefore forgive him not." The two words "not" that I've underlined in bold, that's because that's in the Book of Mormon and not in the King James Version of the text. "The Lord will enter into judgment with the ancients of his people and the princes thereof, for ye have eaten up the vineyard and the spoil of the poor in your houses. What mean ye? Ye beat my people to pieces and grind the faces of the poor, saith the Lord of hosts." That's from 2 Nephi chapter 13 verses 14 through 15, or Isaiah chapter 3 in the same verses. And notice that in their day they will spoil the poor and they will grind the faces of the poor, and that will happen in our day as well. And finally we have in Helaman how that prophecy that Isaiah gave to his day related also to the people of Nephi, or the Nephites. "Now this great loss of the Nephites and the great slaughter which was among them would not have happened had it not been for their wickedness and their abomination which was among them. Yea, and it was among those who also professed to belong to the church of God. And it was because of the pride of their hearts, because of the exceeding riches. Yea, it was because of their oppression to the poor, withholding their food from the hungry, withholding their clothing from the naked, smiting their humble brethren upon the cheek, making a mock of that which was sacred, denying the spirit of prophecy and of revelation, murdering, plundering, lying, stealing, committing adultery, rising up in great contentions and deserting or dissenting, as in the original manuscript, away from the land of Nephi among the Lamanites. Isaiah talks about knowledge of God as essential. They regard not the work of the Lord, neither consider the operation of his hands. Therefore my people are gone into captivity, because they have no knowledge, and their honorable men are famished, and their multitude dried up with thirst. From the annotated edition of the book of Isaiah, these comments were made. The life of luxury was then, as ever, one of practical atheism. The future exile of Israel is due not to foreseeing their own evil conduct, but not knowing God's laws and their duty to them. King Noah's educational system is they knew not God. And from Mosiah we read, and they were people friendly with one another. Nevertheless, they knew not God, neither did the brethren of Amulon teach them anything concerning the Lord their God. Neither the law of Moses, nor did they teach them the words of Abinadi. But they taught them that they should keep their record, and that they might write one to another. And thus the Lamanites began to increase in riches, and began to trade with one another, and wax great, and began to be a cunning and a wise people as to the wisdom of the world, yea, a very cunning people, delighting in all manner of wickedness and plunder, except it were among their own brethren. In D&C 59, verse 21, we see, and in nothing doth man offend God, or against none is his wrath kindled, save those who confess not his hand in all things, and obey not his commandments. The importance of teaching God is so critical. Why is it critical? Because cutting the cord in education will result in quite a few changes in society. In fact, the Supreme Court of the United States has made it unpatriotic for public schools to teach your children to pray. By making that unconstitutional, the Supreme Court severs the connecting cord between the public schools of the United States and the source of divine intelligence, the great Creator himself. Evidently, the Supreme Court misinterprets the true meaning of the First Amendment and are now leading the Christian nation down the road to atheism. That comes from David O. McKay in his article called Parental Responsibility that was printed in the Relief Society magazine back in 1962.
And much of what we see happening in the United States today, in our government, in our society, in the movements where marriage and family and children are concerned, we are seeing the principles of secular humanism that state that it is man that is predominant rather than God and the words of God that are predominant.
There are those in this nation today who would delete all of this reference to deity. They would take it out of the Pledge of Allegiance. They would take it from our coinage. They would remove it from any mention in our national life.
Mr. Speaker, on April 6th of this year, the President of the United States traveled halfway around the globe and in the nation of Turkey essentially proclaimed that the United States was not a Judeo-Christian nation.
We do not consider ourselves a Christian nation or a Jewish nation or a Muslim nation. We consider ourselves a nation of citizens.
The first question was whether or not we ever considered ourselves a Judeo-Christian nation. And the second one is, if we did, what was that moment in time where we ceased to be so?
And we look at what is going on in removing the Ten Commandments from public areas, in removing God, in not being able to pray at commencement or pray at a football game or a basketball game.
When Mrs. Margaret Thatcher was on this campus and I was talking with her, she said, "I cannot understand it. You have the motto, 'In God we trust,' on your coinage, and yet you cannot mention the name of deity in the classrooms of your schools." She wondered, and I wonder about our consistency.
Freedom is only available to people who are moral. We hear that all of the way through the Book of Mormon.
And so today, the prophets are warning us to really sit up and take notice and stand to defend our rights. Religion is being driven from the public square.
Are we so arrogant as to believe that we can get along without him? We see the manifestation of that arrogance in the great host of social problems with which we deal.
So if we look at the warnings in 2 Nephi chapters 17 through 19, we can say the following is a synopsis. It says, do not trust in kings, that is, your mortal leaders, and alliances with men to save you. Turn only to the Lord. Jesus Christ will be sent by the Father. He is the only true way of safety. If you associate or partner yourself with the arm of flesh, you will be broken in pieces. Most of Israel rejects the Lord and turns to witches and other sources for wisdom and safety. Because of this, they are a broken people when the Lord comes. Do not be afraid of the plots and conspiracies of the enemy. The Lord will defeat them. Jesus Christ can teach Israel how to discern. Isaiah also warns about the destruction of masculinity and fatherhood. And my people, children are their oppressors, and women rule over them. O my people, they who lead thee cause thee to err and destroy the way of thy paths. That's in 2 Nephi chapter 13, verse 12, which is equivalent to Isaiah 3, verse 12. The theologian Charles John Ellicott states the following: this points to the character of King Ahaz. The influence of the queen mother or of the harem was dominant in his counsels. The undermining of the home and family is on the increase, with the devil anxiously working to displace the father as the head of the home and create rebellion among the children. The Book of Mormon describes this condition when it states, and my people, children are their oppressors, and women rule over them. That's from Ezra Taft Benson in General Conference back in 1970.
Father knows best? Well, if you've been watching any TV of late, you wouldn't think so. Our Father's Day cover story is reported by Russ Mitchell.
So you want me to go to college?
College? Barber or clown?
Bart!
How would you feel if you suddenly found out you were adopted and that wasn't your real dad?
Dad, don't say that. Unless you're absolutely positive it's true.
Don't bother changing the channel. They're everywhere.
I can't reach it. Dad, you have to come up another rung.
My ears are popping!
He's lazy, he's immature, he's stupid, he's a marginal at best father. You know, his daughter has no respect for him.
Which is why not everybody loves Raymond.
Grandma's helping me with my homework.
Oh. Want me to help?
That's all right, dear. We're working on grammar right now.
Can I ask you something, Ray?
His wife is the one who's smart and makes all the decisions and kind of leads him around.
This is what we do. It's called being a parent.
Well, maybe I don't want to be called that.
That's the modern dad.
Do you think if someone came here from another planet and watched American TV, they would think all dads were doofuses?
Absolutely. It would be worse than doofuses. They would think that maybe good child development was overcoming the stupidity of the dad.
Let's see. List your 3 favorite books and how they've influenced your life.
Is TV Guide a book?
No.
Son of Sniglet?
No.
Katharine Hepburn's Me?
No.
Oh, I suck.
And according to Warren Farrell, author of Father and Child Reunion, this negative image of American dads is beginning to take its toll.
There's a tremendous amount of feeling of being like Willie Loman, and as Rodney Dangerfield would say, you know, I don't get no respect.
Look how fast that is. So it's kind of encyclopedia-ish.
Sachs argues this dad is a doofus image is being sold to America in any number of ways.
Yes.
Take a look at this Verizon commercial.
She's working on a school project. I'm kind of...
She's 8 years old.
Tom, leave her alone.
She's already smarter than dad, of course.
Tom!
She's just like, you know, totally contemptuous of him. And then gives her mother this look like, get this idiot out of here.
But his war goes on.
Again, the negative images of men and fathers. I mean, you look at some of these books here. Dad has bad manners just like the kids do. And Mom has to scold all 3 of them.
Is he cleaning out his teeth with a twig there,
God
it looks
knows
like?
what.
Well, you know, I think it's been a long and honored television tradition, at least over the last 20 years, that the fathers tend to be the ones who were screwing things up and causing problems for the mothers, who, if the kids would be just left with their mothers, would be just fine.
Jesus Christ, his kingdom, and his followers have dedicated, serious enemies. Many of you have no idea how dedicated and how serious your enemies are in the neo-Marxist world. And as a former Marxist, I understand this. And I was a Christian hater, and the Lord was merciful to me. I was a violent Christian hater. And it's even hard for me to even recall some of the things that we used to talk about in meetings that we'd have. I mean, we saw no useful purpose for Christians in society. And we were literally talking about, well, what could we do, for the glory of the state, for good old Mother Earth? Christians would make good fertilizer. Serious discussion. And I'm ashamed to say it. Christ's enemies have used carnal aesthetics to replace Christian civilization with socialistic statism. It's a fact. These are our conclusions. Next one. They have used the feature film as a primary weapon to make unholy, antithetical aesthetics the accepted structure of our post-Christian culture. The accepted structure.
So they began a coordinated attack. We're talking about in the 1900s with black and white movies. And he walks through, Jeff Bakken just does such a good job walking through the history. It's very...
Back in 1985 in the April General Conference, Elder Spencer W. Kimball said the following: Hoodooism is on the warpath. Supposedly good youth from recognized good families express their revolt in destructive acts. Many defy and resist law enforcing officers. Respect for authority, secular, religious, political, seems to be at a low ebb. Immorality, drug addiction, general moral and spiritual deterioration seem to be increasing, and the world is in turmoil. But the Lord has offered an old program in a new dress, and it gives promise to return the world to sane living, to true family life, to family interdependence. It is to return the father to his rightful place at the head of the family, to bring mother home from social life and employment, the children from near total fun and frolic. The home teaching program with its crowning activity, the Family Home Evening, will neutralize the ill effects if people will only apply the remedy. Of course, that was back in 1965, and so what has happened since that time, where the role of the father, or the role of man, and the role of women have kind of flipped? The World Health Organization estimates that in the absence of gender discrimination or interference, there would be around 105 boys born per 100 girls, although this can range from around 103 to 107 boys per 100 girls. So therefore, there's somewhat of an equal birth rate, although boys just slightly more than girls. However, the male college crisis is not just enrollment, but completion. In 1972, when the U.S. government passed the landmark Title IX laws to promote gender equality in education, there was a 12 percentage point gap in the proportion of bachelor's degrees going to men compared to women. By 1982, the gap had closed. Nobody predicted what would happen next. The gap started to widen rapidly in the opposite direction. By 2019, the gender gap in bachelor's awards was wider at 14 points than it had been in 1972, but the other way around. More women were getting degrees than men. This is a chart that shows that women are getting the majority of all degree types. So if you look at the associate degree, 61% of women, 39% men. The bachelor's degree, 57% women, 43% men. The master's degree, 61% women and 39% men. And then doctorate, 54 to the women to 46 of the men. So you can see that the women are becoming the major educated individuals in our society today. Isaiah also talks about witchcraft in his day and how it will affect their society, the children of Israel that were in the area of Jerusalem. He says, "And when they shall say unto you, Seek unto them that have familiar spirits, and unto wizards that peep and mutter, should not a people seek unto their God for the living to hear from the dead?" That's in 2 Nephi chapter 18, verse 9, equivalent to Isaiah 8:9. And in Alma, we read the following: "For those who did not belong to their church did indulge themselves in sorceries and in idolatry, or idleness, and in babblings, and envyings, and strife, wearing costly apparel, being lifted up in the pride of their own eyes, persecuting, lying, thieving, robbing, committing whoredoms, and murdering, and all manner of wickedness." And also in Mormon, chapter 1, verse 19, "It came to pass that there were sorceries and witchcrafts and magics, and the power of the evil one was wrought upon all the face of the land, even unto the fulfilling of all the words of Abinadi, and also Samuel the Lamanite." And that concept of witchcraft, or the world of what you call the world of the magic new world, introducing the new Joseph Smith, has been published extensively from different sources that are from people who are members of our church. The first to do that was Richard Bushman in his book called Joseph Smith, Rough Stone Rolling. And since then there's been artwork and books written about seer stones and how these artifacts, which are used by the occult, was used by Joseph Smith to translate the Book of Mormon, where he stated unequivocally that he used the Urim and Thummim, which was provided with the metal plates that came in the stone box in the hill Cumorah, specifically to translate that sacred text. In 2 Nephi chapter 19, or Isaiah chapter 9, it's known as the Emmanuel prophecy. "For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, the Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace." That's in verse 6. "He will break every yoke." That's in verse 4. "He has good government." That's in verses 6 and 7. "His anger is not turned away, but his hand is stretched out still." Jesus Christ is the light of the world. In 2 Nephi chapter 19, verse 2, or Isaiah 9:2, it says, "The people that walked in darkness have seen a great light. They that dwell in the land of the shadow of death, upon them hath the light shined." Nephi's prophecy of Jesus Christ. "Nevertheless, in the days that the prophecies of Isaiah shall be fulfilled, men shall know of a surety at the times when they shall come to pass. Wherefore they are of worth unto the children of men, and he that supposeth that they're not, unto them will I speak particularly, and confine the words unto mine own people. For I know that they shall be of great worth unto them in the last days. For in that day shall they understand them. Wherefore for their good have I written them. And now this I speak because of the Spirit which is in me. And notwithstanding they have been carried away, they shall return again," that is, the Jews in Jerusalem, "and possess the land of Jerusalem. Wherefore they shall be restored again to the land of their inheritance." And we've seen that in our day. Since 1967, they have come to Jerusalem into the millions. "But behold, they shall have wars and rumors of wars. And when the day cometh that the only begotten the Father, yea, even the Father of heaven and of earth, shall manifest himself unto them in the flesh, behold, they will reject him because of their iniquities, and the hardness of their hearts, and the stiffness of their necks. Behold, they will crucify him, and after he is laid in a sepulchre for the space of 3 days, he shall rise from the dead, with healing in his wings." He's referencing a quote from Malachi chapter 4, verse 2. "And all those who shall believe on his name shall be saved in the kingdom of God. Wherefore my soul delighteth to prophesy concerning him, for I have seen his day, and my heart doth magnify his holy name."